Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we have an episode of Imams Corner lined up for you here, inshallah, with Fadilatul Sheikh, Imam Uzair. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Alhamdulillah, we've been discussing this verse of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى. So we spoke about, predominantly speaking about khawf and how fear, what role fear plays in our religion, and the balance of fear and hope and love. This verse specifically mentions the person who fears maqama rabbihi. So what is maqama rabbihi and how is that understood by this verse?
So it's very much connected. Maqama Rabbihi is going to be the experience of every single human being. As we believe, and it is a part of our faith, that when we leave this world, there's going to be a time in our future journey where we stand in front of Allah Almighty. So Allah Almighty is going to call for us. We're going to be standing in front of Him. And then basically there's going to be a dialogue between Allah and the person. And Allah Almighty is going to show the person what he did with his life from start to end. Many people are going to be asked why. So they're going to be interrogated. And as we have understood from the beautiful sayings of Nabi Kareem Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, a person who is interrogated by Allah Almighty on that day, he will not have any reply to satisfy that why. And he will find failure around the corner. That moment and that muqam, standing in front of Allah Almighty, knowing that Allah Almighty is the Khalik and the Malik, the Razak of this entire universe, myself and everything that it contains, and He knows what I did in secret, what I did in public, what I used to do once, what I used to do twice, what I did many a times, what I said, what I was thinking, what I was planning. Allahu Akbar. He knows everything. Now standing in front of Him, that is going to be daunting. That is going to be very, very scary for a human being. A lot of people, when they study the Day of Judgment, and as we know that the Day of Judgment, فَالسَّاعَةُ أَدْهَا وَأَمَرُ, it is scary. It is a very long day. There's many, many different stations and junctions that a person has to pass through. And many times when we study, we think that the hardest moment is the moment when a person stands on that bridge that lies over hell, and he's going to walk over that bridge or run over that bridge or, drop from that bridge. He feels that's the scariest moment. But in reality, the scariest moment on the Day of Judgment will be when he stands in front of Allah. Because that is the ultimate proclamation, announcement that is going to determine if this person is going to live in peace and comfort, or ثُمَّ لَا يَمُوتُ فِيهَا وَلَا يَحْيَا, or if he's going to live miserably. And because a person on that day will truly recognize, even those that were atheists, those that did not believe in Allah Almighty, they will recognize that day. And there's a chip in every human being that demands that he loves Allah Almighty. I think we have spoken about this many, many weeks ago, that in Surah Mutaffifin, Surah number 83, Allah Almighty says, كَلَّا إِنَّهُمْ أَرَّبِّهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَمَحْجُوبُونَ. That Allah speaks about people that have ran, that have rust on their heart. And the punishment for these people that did not allow the heart to remain sound is that there will be a veil between them and Allah on the Day of Judgment. If one person doesn't believe in Allah, placing a veil shouldn't be a punishment for him. But inherently, every person has love for Allah Almighty. Indeed, he made the right choices here, and he did not allow that seed to blossom and grow. But on the day of judgment, when there will be a veil, and Allah will not even look at them, and Allah Almighty will place a veil, this will be a great punishment for them. That I can't see my Creator now. Yes, I made a mistake. I didn't recognize Him. I denied Him, but it's going to be very, very hard for them.
What about those people that from the beginning they have the khawf? And we're talking about, it seems like, is it everybody that on that day will be extremely fearful, or would it be like if we had a healthy balance of fear and hope and love in this life before we got there, that there will be some enjoyment, or we will experience love as well on that day?
Look, the day of judgment basically is a reward. It's the day of requital. There is a verse in the glorious Quran, that is a verse in itself we will speak about another day. ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. A person who says, Allah is my Rabb, ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا, then he's steadfast. فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. For that person on that day, basically there will be no fear and there will be no grief. So there will be people that will be exonerated from those levels of fear. They will be free from that. But they will be free from that because they allowed khawf and love of Allah Almighty to regulate their life in this world. So it's a very simple understanding of life after death. The people that lived a life of khawf, they will be protected from khawf on the day of judgment. And the people that live their life without khawf, they will be consumed by khawf on the day of judgment. And there's another way to say it. A person who lives his life based upon what Allah wills, then Allah Almighty will allow him to live the life that He wants to live. So it's basically how we want to be treated, we need to apply right now. Now, maqama rabbihi, to stand in front of Allah, there's a beautiful story that comes to my mind. And it is from Surah Ar-Rahman. The story has been made mention under that by Mufassirun. The third section of Surah Ar-Rahman, and Surah Ar-Rahman consists of 3 sections. The third section starts from وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. That the person who fears to stand in front of his Lord, Jannatan, Allah will give him 2 Jannats. 2 Jannats. Now, of course, there's a very lengthy commentary pertaining to 2 Jannats of gold, or 2 Jannats of fidda, silver, but there's different commentaries to that. But anyway, in the time of Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala, there was a young abid. He used to worship Allah Almighty. He was young. Hazrat Umar was very fond of him as well. There was a spark in this youngster. He was blessed with internal beauty as well as external beauty. And there was a lady that was infatuated with his beauty. And one day, she invited him inside. And somehow he dropped the guard. This person, he dropped his guard and he went inside. And then when he was inside with this lady, the lady expressed her intentions. And her intentions were not noble. Right there and then, this youngster, he realized where he was, because he was blinded before, where he was and what she's asking of him. And he started to recite the verse, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا إِذَا مَسَّهُمْ طَائِفٌ مِّنَ الشَّيْطَانِ تَذَكَّرُوا فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ. That verily those people that have taqwa, meaning that they have the complete recognition of Allah Almighty, love, khawf, there's awareness. إِذَا مَسَّهُمْ طَائِفٌ مِّنَ الشَّيْطَانِ, that when they are touched by the shaitan, تَذَكَّرُوا, they remember Allah. فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْصِرُونَ, and then suddenly they find themselves awake. They can see. Because before they were blind. مُبْصِرُونَ, they are alert, they can see now. So he started reciting this verse over and over again. So in the recital of that verse, he's doing tadhakkaru, he's remembering Allah Almighty. And basically, it is the recognition of Allah Almighty that is allowing him to make dhikr at that moment where he is invited to fulfill a command that is not, or a practice that is not approved by Allah Almighty. So he recited, and he fell down, and he became unconscious, and then he died.
Ajib.
He died. So they buried him. The story became the talk of the town. It was related to Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala that this had happened. So Hazrat Umar, because he was very fond of him, he went to the grave of this youngster. And he recited this verse, Hazrat Umar. He said, وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتًا. That the person that fears Allah Almighty, he will get 2 Jannats. And he wanted to know that has Allah fulfilled his promise with this youngster, because he gave his life due to the fear of Allah Almighty. So we learn from this story, as long as we don't commit the sin, anything before it, we still can attain the high ranks of Allah Almighty. So anyone who finds themselves on the door of haram, they can pull away. Don't worry about what people say. They pull away. Hazrat Umar didn't utter a word. He said, وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتًا. And they say that the youngster from inside the grave, he responded. And he said that Allah has granted me 2 paradises. And this is the reward of khawf.
Subhanallah.
Maqama Rabbi, to believe. I will end on the verse, how will we know that we have khawf of the Maqama Rabbi, to stand in front of Allah? I would like all my noble viewers, listeners, to turn to the last verse of Surah Kahf, Surah number 18, verse 110. فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. How will we know that we have khawf of that muqam, to stand in front of Allah? We need to do 2 things. One is to abstain from shirk, associating partners with Allah Almighty. And the second is to take a huge pile of good deeds, to do good deeds, to take good deeds.
Yes. It almost seems like that khawf is, it should be there in the backpack.
Yes.
You know, when that needs to be used, then we have the ability to use it. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, we need to live in hope and in instead of love, and be working towards.
It's simple. If hope and love is not working, there should be khawf there.
Yes. It's like
as they say,
the
what is that saying? Al-asa liman asa. The stick is for the disobedient. But what did the Nabi of Allah say? Keep the stick wandering over. Don't use it. Yes. But the stick should be in the back.
Yes.
That if the child thinks he can get away with everything, the stick is there. Likewise, khawf is always there.
Yes.
That if we are exploiting khawf and raja and muhabba, and we're doing the wrong things, then khawf should come to rescue us from doing the wrong things.
Yes, may Allah Ta'ala give us a deeper understanding. May Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala allow us to live in a beautiful state in this world and in the afterlife, inshallah. Jazakallah, thank you very much again, Imam, for sharing your beautiful wisdoms with us. May Allah Ta'ala accept from all of us. And to our viewers, I hope there's something beneficial for you, and if you perhaps think it might be beneficial for somebody else, please share it. Give us a like, subscribe to this podcast, and we hope that it's beneficial, inshallah. Please make dua for us as we make dua for you. May Allah Ta'ala bless you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear viewers, I believe you have enjoyed the show. If you have enjoyed the show, please press the subscribe button, and Allah Almighty grant each one of you the best of both worlds. Assalamu alaikum.